We kind of nipped the OCD in the butt, at least thinking that...
In the bud.
In the butt.
Bud. You nip something in the bud. You don't nip anything in the ass.
Whose ass do you want to nip?
That's a different question.
Hello.
Hey.
New special guest.
Would you like to introduce yourself, special guest?
Sure. I'm Lucy. I'm the middle sister out of the Gladstone sisters, which there are 3. I live in Los Angeles right now, and I work in music doing various things.
So yeah, there's 3 of us. Sort of scary, sort of fun. Should we say our age difference? I feel like that's sort of interesting, to me at least.
Yeah.
You want to start eldest?
Sure, eldest.
Firstborn?
Yeah. I'm 29. We have 2 years between me and Lucy.
So I'm 27.
I just turned 24.
So 3 years, 4 school years between the 2 of us.
A good distribution.
How do you feel about being the middle child, Lou?
I think it's very fitting for who I am. I feel like I took a lot of attention away as the middle child from things, and I feel like it's easy to, with birth order at least, fall into those stereotypes.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of it is my own fault, but when we were growing up, I was very sensitive. When I was growing up, I was very sensitive. Is present tense. It's easy to other yourself, especially if you're oh, this is my birth order. I'm the middle child, so I'm gonna other myself and I'm so different. So yeah, growing up, I think I used it to my advantage and your disadvantage, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I think it's extremely fitting for me.
Well, I feel like we all really buy into the birth order thing. I always joke, I'm my entire personality is being a youngest child. And I just think it's something that all 3 of us, I mean, I don't know if you speak on that, but I feel like we all sort of believe in how birth order can impact your personality and your relationships and things like that.
Well, I think it's interesting when you're all the same gender too, because it's
yeah.
Then you're not playing into boy-girl differences. It's sort of you're all hypothetically doing the same thing, but with such different personalities and in different stages of our lives.
Yeah. And especially being your younger sister specifically, that was funny growing up because we were usually in school together and I would get teachers after you that would expect me to be a very good student and I was not. And so that was funny, but that was, I think, another way that I was I'm different than Emma, when
so
now
you being bad at school is just a bit, is what you're
saying?
saying?
And me being gay is also a bit.
I mean, it's funny you say that because I wasn't overlapping in school with you guys because 4 school years, we just missed each other. But I used to have teachers that were oh, you're Lucy's sister? And then they thought I would fall asleep in class. Lucy's not narcoleptic. What is it called?
Idiopathic hypersomnia.
Imagine getting diagnosed with something that the first thing is idiopathic.
That means it's not my fault.
I thought that means
it sounds like you're an idiot.
Made it up.
No, it sounds
that
like
wrong?
I'm an idiot. No, I didn't make it up.
It's the step. It's the step below narcolepsy, right?
I missed narcolepsy by 2 points. So I'm right on the line.
That's I got diagnosed recently with this terminology or this it's not a disease, it's just a condition.
Being a huge bitch.
No, it's called dumb bitchitis. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it.
I'm not.
I got that diagnosis a really long time ago.
Yeah. I think maybe it was contagious. I'm not entirely sure. They're still looking at the genomes.
But yeah, it's from mom or dad. Honestly,
that's a toss up. That's a toss up. Lucy was saying you're in LA, Emma and I are in New York. We're not normally seeing each other this often. It's usually, I'd say in other circumstances, usually Christmas, summers, twice, 3 times a year if we're lucky. We're all in Boston right now and have definitely had some time as a family, the 5 of us, the 3 of us. I'm curious, if you have anything to say about that and being far away, granted our situation and how that might have felt for you. A thing that Emma and I usually do is talk about our feelings and emotions. So we just want to open it up, I guess.
Yeah, I think, we're all going through the same thing, but I think being far away adds a whole other element of difficulty to how you're dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I know you've been thinking about moving back or stuff like that. I guess, how have you felt in terms of having to want to put aspects of your life on hold, or how are you balancing everything, I guess?
I'm not. That's how. I I mean, it's been a whirlwind for sure. Like when dad got diagnosed, I pretty much just stopped doing my job, and my boss was kind about it. He was giving me space, sort of while being like, hey, we need to get this stuff done, but I'm sorry and I want to give you space. But like, I pretty much stopped caring about everything, which is not a good thing, including myself. And I think if I'm far away, especially because I live alone, it's easier to not take care of yourself and to isolate. And those are my two favorite things, allegedly. I mean, supposedly.
Loves not showering.
I do. Hey, I showered just recently and I had a bad time. But had a super bad time, but it was awful. But yeah, it's been very, very interesting. I think I'm definitely like missing family when I'm that far away. I feel just like automatically like I am the last to know things, which makes sense. However, that's not true. The distance is really hard, which is why I'm thinking about moving closer to you guys so that I'm closer to dad and you guys, and like so I can have family.
I mean, I think like we sleep on the fact that like you're literally across the country, and like granted, even sometimes, and I don't even want to remotely say this because it feels almost rude because I am so close on the East Coast, but like even sometimes being a state away, I'm like, oh, I feel far from home.
Yeah.
And we're not. It's like a 4-hour train ride. But
that's not rude.
No, but like I feel like that the idea of being across the country like is, and being a plane ride away and like a long plane ride at that is very hard. And I can only imagine because I'm not in that circumstance. So
yeah.
I feel for you, sister.
It bluntly sucks ass, but I chose to move across the country, and so with that I expected the things to come with it, but I didn't expect this.
Right.
Yeah. So we're dealing with the punches. But it's like my lease is up in April, but my world is like stopped. I'm just like, well, I don't like people are doing things. And I'm like, how can you even move on or do anything after this information? When obviously that's not true.
Do you mean like other people or like us?
No, other people.
Like friends and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's, I mean,
and I'm like, what do you mean like months are passing and I need to figure out where I'm going to live in 3 months? Like,
because you're so preoccupied, like with
just
everything going on, it's hard to see people live on their lives.
Yeah. It's like,
I understand that. Yeah.
It's like unfair, which is such a funny emotion. I've also just been like really putting a lot of anger in places that don't deserve it. I've been really angry.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I think we're stuck in a situation that, like, yeah, we can go out there and be like, okay, well, I know people that have lost both of their parents. I know people that are dealing with cancer themselves at a super young age. Like, we can play the silver lining game and we can say how fortunate we've been for the time we've had, which I don't think should be lost on us. But at the same time, like, this is super unfair. This is not anything that any of us expected or prepared for or ever thought we'd have to deal with. And I think I think that's the hardest pill to swallow. Is it's like, is this like actually happening? It still feels surreal, and it's been well over 6 months, and it's sort of like,
that's crazy.
Is there going to be a day when we're like, when it feels normal to be going through this? And I don't know if there will be.
I can't
imagine that, but maybe.
Yeah. Like, this is the new normal. This is what we have to adjust to. We have to work with this, and we can't just pause and put our lives on hold, but it's hard to not do that.
Exactly. And it's like, especially someone who, I'm talking about me, someone who's like comfort and immediate reaction to a very emotionally overwhelming situation. I isolate and sleep, and that's like my go-to response, and that is just, I can't do that.
You're like the fainting goats. When like something goes wrong, they just pass out.
I'm literally just like, when I get like overexcited too, just like
yeah, any overstimulation, you're like,
how have we never made that relationship?
I feel like I have.
I think you might have.
Head. I think just in your head.
My favorite new thing about you is when Lucy wakes up in the morning, I say that she hatches because like the sleep disorder. She's like, you always just look like a little wet.
It's because I am. It's because
It looks like she just came out of an egg.
I'm sweating.
Like, you know, like it's like the films on you.
Ew.
Ew.
I think, not to pivot off of that
Oh, you can.
conversation. But I think like a lot of what we're trying to accomplish with this podcast, of course, we're talking about everything that we're going through. We're talking about just things that are hard to discuss in general. And obviously we're all having trouble with this. We're all grappling with this in our own ways. But I think at least for Haley and I, like in terms of being day-to-day super anxious more than we've already been, having feelings of depression, just sort of dealing with much stronger emotions than we've ever had to deal with before. I think we've been learning a lot from you and from your coping mechanisms, just because in terms of mental health, like that's something that you've always sort of been dealing with and struggling with for a while. So I mean, I don't want to ask like, how are things different now than they've been historically? Because obviously this is a whole added layer.
No, that's
but what do you like? Do you feel like you've been better equipped, I guess, to take on some of this stuff? Or do you feel like you're operating from a disadvantage because you were already having to deal with some of this? And I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. I'm just curious.
That's a really good question. I would say...
And I mean, if you want to start just walking through like some of what you're, if you're comfortable.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
What your, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Trajectory has been. And because I feel like you've overcome so much mentally.
That's
You've become
true.
so strong from it. So
Thanks.
if you want to lead with a just background, it might be helpful.
So when I was 8 years, basically I was, from what I remember, I was a very, very anxious. And I don't know if you guys knew this, I was diagnosed with OCD when I was like 7 because I was switching the lights on and off. And I was like convinced if I don't do that, everyone in my family is going to die. And they were like, hey, you're 8, let's go to therapy.
I like so distinctly remember sitting in Dad's car with you and you would like click the windows like up, down, up, down, up, down 3 times. And I was like, can you literally stop doing that? And you were like, I can't. And you would like reach over me and touch it again. And I was like, I'm going to punch you. Like, you have to stop.
Like, no, but if I don't stop, you're going to die.
And it's so crazy to like think about those experiences like when we were younger. And I'm sorry, I want you to keep telling this, but like, obviously like that was like probably all of our first exposures to like mental health and like, what the fuck is that? So
what
like,
the fuck is wrong with you?
We were like, Lucy, like stop. And like, I feel so guilty looking back on that. Cause like we were being so not supportive, but like, I was like your younger sister and I was like, can you stop jumping on the grate? It's really weird. And I'd like be mean about it.
Yeah, you were like, you're a great girl.
No, like, literally so mean.
No, every time you went upstairs to bed, you would like circle around the room and then like hop on all of the grates.
Yeah.
So I called her a great girl, which is cruel and unusual.
No, that's hilarious.
And
unusual.
But I obviously like, that was like our first exposure to mental health. And now like, I like am literally going into a career dedicating my life to mental health. Like maybe it's like my guilty conscience or something, but no, I just think it's so interesting that like the way that all of us, like even mom and dad, we were like, wait, what's going on? Because we just like, we're confused.
Yeah.
But continue. Sorry.
So yeah, no, like most of my mental health journey has been like, what's wrong? So I got treated for like the OCD shit when I was younger. We kind of nipped the OCD in the butt, at least thinking that.
In the bud.
In the butt.
You nip something in the bud. You don't nip anything in the ass.
Whose ass do you want to nip?
That's a different question.
Okay, yeah, we'll wait till
I thought that, wow, my mind is blown. Learn something new every day.
Okay, so you
Sorry.
So anyway, I nipped it in the butt, and at least we thought so far. And then I went through middle school. I don't think I was seeing I'm lying. I started seeing a psychiatrist, therapist in like 7th and 8th grade because I was like really depressed again. And they were like, why? Because why would I have a reason to be depressed? I was so lucky. I had a great childhood. And
but no one has a reason to, like, I think it's a nature versus nurture question. And it's like, you're predisposed, I think, to feel things differently. And it doesn't matter that you had a great family, had a great life. Like, you can still feel those feelings. They're still super valid. Exactly. And I think that was hard for us to understand too. We're like, we're all growing up the same. Like, why are you so unhappy?
Yeah.
Or like touching everything 100 times. Like that was
or touching everything 100 times.
But anyway, yeah.
But yeah, so then I started getting treated for anxiety, depression, like 7th to 8th grade through high school. And through high school was really rough.
You could help yourself. We didn't know how to help you.
And I was also being a huge bitch.
Well, but like
like I was also a bitch and for no reason.
Yeah. But it's, and I know Emma and I think we have a little bit, but Emma and I talked, what was it, like 3 years ago? Where I like just sat you down when we were eating sushi in LA, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry both of you guys had no room to have mental health problems. That's because I took up all of that space. And I think about that all the time, and I feel really, really bad.
I don't want you to think about
Yeah,
that.
I don't want you to feel
but
badly
I just
for
want to
that.
acknowledge that I know that, and that I'm so sorry.
I mean, I think it's part of our story too. I think we understand this type of struggle to a different degree, having watched you go through it. And no, it's not a direct thing that we've had to deal with ourselves, but sort of back to my original question. It's to know, don't apologize. It's like to know how you've navigated some of this stuff is now helping us now that we're in this sort of space of like, I've had days now where I'm like, I really don't feel like I can get up. And I'm like, oh my, like, is this what Lucy was feeling like for 90% of high school? Like, it's sort of eye-opening to feel it yourself, and to then, I feel like we can almost better understand some of it and better understand you, unfortunately, but it's
nice. Yeah, so it's like I have all these tools at my disposal that I've learned through various programs I've been in. So you would think that I would be the best equipped, I guess, to deal with all these things. However, like when it happened, I was like, I don't know anything. I can't help myself. Like for all the tools went out the window.
I agree with what you just said, but I also feel like one of the first things you did with all of this is you called me and you were like, I want to be there for you. I want to help you. And I was like, wow, that's so unbelievably selfless. And to me, that was sort of you being like, I can do this. I've been here obviously in way different circumstances, but it felt like you understanding that this is a space that you're unfortunately familiar with, and then wanting to be helpful to us. Like, that was huge.
Yeah.
Especially, I remember I was sitting literally in our bathroom here and you were still in LA, but you called me and you were like, I know I'm your little sister, but like, I want to be here for you.
Yeah.
And that was super powerful, I think, just knowing that was one of your first like thoughts or reactions. Whereas mine was like more selfish. I was like, all right, like my dad is going to die. My life is falling apart. And you're sitting there like, I'm going to call them and make sure that they know that I'm here for them. Like, that was amazing, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I also just was like, you're always there for us, but you're always there for everyone. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I'm also here for you, because like you have emotions and you have things that you can complain about. And something my therapist told me to do more is like, we're all going through it, and so we should all talk to each other about it.
Mine said something similar. Like, no one else in the world knows how we're feeling except us three, and I'd argue like us three are in a different category than mom, because I think being the daughter, being not the primary caregiver, all of that, like, that makes a lot of sense. And like, even what we're all feeling, and I would argue, is a little bit different because we all have different relationships with dad. But like, at the end of the day, like, my friends that are there for me and are so supportive, like, they don't get it as much as like you two do.
Yeah.
No one does. Yeah. Emma and I've said this before too. Like, I feel like we have such a great support system between the two of you guys. Like, I feel that way, and my friends and everyone. I just like wish I didn't need to have a big support system, but like, and like, I'm so upset that like you guys also are feeling what I'm feeling, but I'm also like so grateful that you are feeling what I'm feeling. So it's like, it sucks. I wish we weren't feeling this way, but like, I'm happy that I have you guys in it. And like, I'm so grateful to not be an only child right now. Because like, what would I do?
Like, it's a club no one wants to be a part of, but it makes it a little easier that we're all getting inducted at the same time.
That's exactly right.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Thank you for like sharing a lot of
the
stuff that
you've
gone through.
I didn't touch on a lot of stuff, but I feel like that stuff doesn't matter as much.
No, but it's just like, I think what Emma was saying, like having the trajectory of dealing with such intense problems and feelings and not understanding why or what's going on, but just like feeling the way you felt at such a young age, like, is so awful. But you've really, I guess, like, I don't want to say like you're a vet, but like you like you're kind of like, you've understood these versus like, I always have been like, oh, I'm anxious, but like I've been able to coast through it and deal with it. And like, that probably wasn't the best thing to do, but it's been so manageable. And like now it's almost like a buildup of everything flushing out now, and new to therapy, new to medication, new to all these things that like you unfortunately have learned at a young age, but also then because of that have gotten accustomed and gotten like figured out what works for you, what doesn't work. And like that I think is such a valuable skill. And
yeah, you're a pro.
It's nice. It's comforting, I think, for us to see like you make so much strides and stuff, but
thanks. But also, yeah, just acknowledging that you're like, I'm new to therapy, I'm new to this. It might have happened sooner if I didn't take up the mental health space that was in our house.
Yes. I mean, I think we could dive into a whole thing about like the glass children phenomenon and stuff like that. But I also think because we weren't like watched as closely and could kind of get away with like having some of these issues because they weren't the primary problems that our parents were dealing with as far as like children and their children's happiness went. I think like there is also a level of resilience that you build up. So for better or for worse, like, yeah, it's a lot of it's bottled up and now it's being sort of retroactively dissected in some of these therapy sessions with some of these feelings coming in and like opening everything up. But I also feel like it, like, at least for me, I definitely learned like how to compartmentalize and how to sort of deal with some of this stuff on my own, whether that's better or worse or neither. It's like, I don't think that's necessarily a good or a bad thing. I think it's just has created the people that all three of us have become. So I don't think you need to apologize for any of it. I think it's just when you look at who you are and dissect who you are as a person and look back on your childhood, your experiences, how you deal with stuff, how you dealt with stuff, like that's just the path that we took to get where we are today. And I mean, aside from everything that's going on with dad, like I'm pretty happy with it. So I wouldn't like, I don't think you being the center of mental health attention, like epically fucked up our lives. I would never say that.
Okay.
So I don't want you to hold like apology for that.
I'll get over it soon.
We're fine.
Guys, we're fine.
One might say great.
I'm gonna say great.
Great girl.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
We could go back and dissect every single thing that we did or did not do as children, and we'd have a lot of notes.
I mean, that would need to be another episode, and also we might need to like
we should do that.
Preface some things so like I don't get in trouble. But I like shoved you in the freezer. I don't know.
Oh, the grocery store.
That was a fun game. You like asked for that.
I loved that.
You wanted to play victim.
I was like, oh no, like hide me in the freezer. Oh no, mom, help.
You know, like wow, it's like supermarket shopping with like mom, and like obviously like we're so cold and so bored and like have to make our own fun. So our fun was shoving you amongst the frozen pizzas.
Yeah, and I had a great time.
It was great. This is one of many. You'll be back.
I'm excited that you guys are doing this. I think it's a really great way to like to get things out and also just to like discuss important topics. I mean, I know I didn't call you and say that I'm here for you too, but I'm here for you too.
Thank you so much.
Because I also call you sometimes being like, I'm having a bad day. Like,
yeah, and I do the same too.
Yeah.
We lean on each other. Love you, Loopy.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you.